Hey guys, Fifi Mangaka here. Today, we're going to be talking about 5 ways you can spot a bad story idea early, like before you dump countless hours into that passion project. And what if I told you that every single one of these clues rears its head in the planning stage, when you're designing characters and writing your plot outlines? Yep, that early. Let's get into it with the first and perhaps most obvious clue. Clue 1. A weak hook or intro. A weak hook or intro is the first clue that your story idea might not be that good. A compelling hook is make or break for any story. Identifying a weak hook or a lackluster story opening is essential because it can prevent your narrative from drawing your audience in effectively. They may even stop reading your work altogether if the intro sucks. The hook really sets the tone for what kind of story the audience is getting into. But recognizing a weak hook isn't always that straightforward. I think a weak hook may have some or all of these things. A lack of character or setting establishment. The audience may be thinking, what exactly is going on with who and why should I care? Next, the curiosity gap. Your story's intro should provide curiosity. If your story opens with an uneventful description of some ominous event that happened in the past that we don't understand yet, or a character's mundane morning routine, you might be missing an opportunity to engage your audience. And then there's the absence of conflict. Conflict is the engine of storytelling. If your intro lacks any hint of conflict or tension, it might not be effectively introducing the central problem or dilemma that your story will address. In Treehouse, the audience is thrusted immediately into a mission that Rue and Fig are currently engaged in. They're pursuing Drendith Nosferi, who's wanted for breaking a serious federal treaty. Throwing the audience right in the middle of a major conflict, and importantly, giving them context on the setting and the characters will set your story up well. Remember, your hook is the bridge between your story and your audience, and recognizing when it's lacking can prevent you from committing to a story that's just not that engaging. Clue 2 for spotting a bad story idea. Lack of character motivations. If you can't think of any kind of motivation that your characters might have for doing things, well, you might have a bad story on your hands. A significant sign that your characters may be operating without any clear sense of purpose is when your characters lack distinct objectives. This makes the things that they do feel random and disconnected from the plot. The key is in the actions of your characters. If you notice inconsistency in your character's behavior as you're planning them out, like maybe they're changing direction and making decisions without any reason, it's often an indicator of unclear motivation. You can spot this issue and correct it as early as the character design stage. To do it, dig deep into your character's backgrounds. What motivates them? What are their personal goals? And what drives them to achieve those goals? Each character should have some specific tangible objectives that propel them through the narrative, which will provide them with some kind of purpose and direction that you could always go back to as they journey through the story. Character arcs often hinge on how motivations transform in response to things that happen in the story. In Treehouse, the main characters Rue, Fig, Kinsey, Vex, Boka, and Koshi all enter the regulation with their unique pasts and motivations. At first, their common goal is to protect their homeland Glory Peak, which is a duty that they take very seriously. However, as the plot unfolds, their motivations undergo significant changes due to a plot twist that challenges their understanding of the world that they inhabit. For example, Rue's motivation to protect Glory Peak evolves as she uncovers hidden truths about the very organization that she serves. It completely turns her ideals, morality, and everything else she knows on its head. So the agent's motivations evolve in response to the plot. This particular clue emphasizes the importance of crafting multi-dimensional characters. Okay, this next clue is a little unorthodox and pretty interesting. No conclusion. Ever found yourself staring at a blank page trying to write an outline for your story and you're completely clueless about how the story should end? Well, that's not just writer's block. When you're unable to conclude the story's overarching plot in your outline, it suggests that maybe the fundamental idea might lack some depth, or maybe even some clarity. At this stage, you're essentially navigating in uncharted territory without a map, and it's challenging to guide your story towards a fulfilling resolution in those circumstances, right? So what do? Well, sometimes the best way to find the conclusion is to retrace your steps. Go back to the basics. Re-examine the central conflict, and that includes the antagonistic characters you have in your story too. A powerful story has a sense of direction from the first page to the last, and when you're outlining your plot, ensure that each twist and turn serves a purpose which ultimately leads back towards the final resolution. Clue 4. The unlikable protagonist, by design. Your main character, the one we'll all be stuck with throughout the entire journey, doesn't sit well with your friends who you're sharing your story idea with. And you've intentionally designed them this way. They're the kind of character that people can't seem to root for or understand, and you kind of like it like that. Maybe they make all the wrong choices, or they exhibit some unpleasant traits, making it challenging to form that critical connection with your audience. If your main character lacks those relatable qualities and remains unlikable, well, even though you may like that, you may want to reconsider your story idea before investing any further. And here's why I think that. The heart of your story often beats in your main character. Their journey, their struggles, their transformation, that's all what keeps the audience turning pages or glued to the screen. An essential ingredient in this narrative recipe is likability. Unfortunately, whether we like it or not, whether they're heroes or anti-heroes, your audience should find something in them to empathize with. When your main character doesn't make the cut in the likability department, it's time to roll up your sleeves. Dive deep into their backstories just like we did in the beginning. The goal here is to strike a balance between the imperfections that you want to portray and perhaps a little bit of that unorthodox nature that you want to portray in this character and their endearing traits too, ensuring that the audience can ultimately root for their success, because that's what we want to do. Root for the good guys, right? As we conclude our exploration of early warning signs that your story idea might be in need of some tender, loving care, we arrive at a crucial point of consideration. Thematic focus, clue 5. Themes are the part of your story that the reader will walk away talking about long after they've finished it. They influence every character's actions, every plot twist, and every line of dialogue. They give the narrative some meat and enable your audience to engage with it on a more profound level than just the surface. But when themes are scattered about aimlessly, or worse, not in there at your planning phase at all, it sets your story up for failure, as you can imagine. A hint to the fact that your story has no major themes is that none of what occurs in the plot seems to connect to each other, or contribute in some change or development of your main cast. To fix this, let your themes guide your storytelling. Choose a few core themes that resonate with your story's core message. Then, thread these themes throughout your narrative, ensuring that each character, event, and plot point is well aligned with them. A well-focused story should feel like there's mostly a purpose for the events that happen, whether it's to develop the main cast or to push the narrative forward. In the world of Ye Olde Treehouse, the story isn't just about action and adventure. It delves into themes like loyalty, personal growth, coping with shattered worldviews. These themes are carefully interwoven into the fabric of the story, and I use it to shape the characters' choices and direction of the plot. So there you have it, friends. Those are 5 clues that I use to tell whether or not my story ideas may not be worth investing in or may need a little bit of reworking. Which clues have you found in your own works? Or which clues would you add to this list? Anything from your own experiences that made you say, yeah, I wish I would have picked up on that just a little bit sooner. Let me know in the comments down below as usual, and I hope you really enjoyed this video. If you like this channel, feel free to give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the Fifi universe for more stuff like this. We're all about writing, and manga, and storytelling, and all of that jazz here on the channel, and I'd love to see you next time. Bye!